Hello, what? I was just about to greet you as if I was answering the phone in work. That's really weird. Let's rewind, start again. Hello, it's Shazza, this is Hooked on Books and welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be telling you about my N.E.W.T TBR. If you don't know what that is, I'm going to leave all the details in the description box, but basically it is the Harry Potter based readathon in which there was the Owls readathon not that long ago, in which you chose a career that you were aiming to get and you had to study particular subjects and each subject had a particular reading prompt. Same thing for the N.E.W.Ts. Now when I did my Owls, I was aiming to be a healer. Having looked at the prompts this time around, I've decided to go for a career change. I may change back to healer. Basically, it was too many books to read because it's also Women in Translation Month and I'd quite like to kind of dedicate more time to that at the end of the month. So I decided to go for, I'm going to be a magizoologist. So that's cool. So I have to study care of magical creatures, charms and herbology. So I have the relevant Owls that I did last time, so I can do these 3 subjects and I'm going to tell you what the reading prompts are and tell you what books I have decided to read with them. So each of the subjects has 3 reading prompts, and for care of magical creatures the first prompt is to read a book that begins with A, so the title begins with A, and I have selected A Girl is a Half-Formed Thing by Eimer McBride, who is an Irish author that I've been meaning to get to for quite a while. I was kind of intrigued by her other one that came out a couple of years ago I think now, which was The Lesser Bohemians, and this one in particular won the Women's Prize for Fiction back in 2014, and it's an author that I think that I'm going to really like. I think I've got a feeling that I'm going to really like her writing style. The story of this one is basically about the relationship between a brother and sister, the brother of which has a brain tumour, but I think more than anything I'm just excited about the potential writing style that's going to go on here, because I just have a feeling that I'm going to love it. Now if I decide to go back to being a healer again, all the other books I'm going to show you, I can kind of twist them and make them work for the prompts, whereas this is the only one that doesn't really fit. So I'm going to leave this one to last on my TBR because I may decide to be a healer still. But we'll see. The next prompt for care of magical creatures is to read a book that is under 300 pages, and I've decided to select this one, which is The Collection, and this is translated from French, and I pre-ordered this quite a long time ago, published by Granta. I think the cover kind of drew me in, and then the subject of it kind of intrigued me as well, and I could definitely tell that it was going to have a writing style that I should probably like. I have actually just started this today. I mean, I've read about 10 pages and I think I like it so far. So it basically tells the story of a woman that is going from hotel room to hotel room and sleeping with men, but she kind of forgets a lot of the details about them apart from their genitals. And she's kind of got this, I mean, having read the first few pages and stuff, I can kind of get this sense of this sort of dissociated feeling to her experiences, and even in the writing. I'm very intrigued by it so far, and I think I should like it. I fear though that it's one of those ones that it's almost too short, that I don't quite fully get to delve into it completely, so I feel a level of distance so far. I mean, I've read 10 pages, my opinion is kind of irrelevant right now, but that's how I feel so far. I am liking it. I'm intrigued to see if I'm going to keep liking it. So this one, how many pages are you? You are like 151, 52, 53, 153. So 153 pages. So it's under 300 pages, so that's the one that I'm doing for that prompt. The next prompt is to read a book with a bird on the cover. And I have gone for this one, which is Dinosaur on Other Planets. Now this is a short story collection and I got it a couple of years ago, and I think it's one of those ones that instantly, I mean, I get intrigued by a lot of short story collections, yet I don't read them that often. I think a lot of the time they tend to present themselves in a way that's kind of a bit weird and a bit strange and a bit intriguing and a bit offbeat, and all those things are things that I'm like, yes, that sounds interesting. But yeah, I very rarely pick them up. But I'm going to take this away with me. I'm going on holiday in a couple of weeks with my girlfriend, and I suggested that we bring a short story collection and we can read each other short stories while we're there, because obviously reading is a very somewhat of an antisocial activity, but I'm trying to make it a sort of social activity by doing that. So we're going to have our very own adult story time. What is this about? This is one of those ones that I'm just going to read a little bit in the back here. So A woman battles bluebottles as she plots an ill-judged encounter with a stranger. A young husband commutes a treacherous route to his job in the city, fearful for the wife and small daughter he has left behind. A mother struggles to understand her 9-year-old son's obsession with dead birds in the apocalypse. So I am definitely intrigued by the sound of some of those, and I'm quite looking forward to getting this one. And it's got a bird in the cover, so it fits the prompt. So these are the 3 books that I'm reading for Care of Magical Creatures. For charms, the first prompt is to read a book that you think has a gorgeous cover, and I decided to go for this one, which is Seashaken Houses. This is a non-fiction book that is looking at stone rock based lighthouses, and I do really love the cover of this, but I'm mainly choosing it because I was already kind of in the middle of it anyway. I mean, I barely started it. Where am I? I'm on page 94. And it's basically about this guy that's looking at the lighthouses that exist in the UK and Ireland and exploring them and talking about them, and it's kind of like a historical look at lighthouses, and I'm kind of fascinated by them. Just when you think about these rock-based lighthouses, it's like how did they even build those, and just how they're quite strange these days, because in a way they're not really as necessary, you know, they're not necessary the way they were years and years ago, but there's something really quite like magical about them. That sounds really cheesy, but like I'm very fascinated by them. So I've chosen that as my gorgeous cover because I do really like it. The next book is to read a comic or graphic novel or manga or a book that's shorter than so many pages, and I've decided to go for a graphic novel, which is this one, Tamara Drewe, by Posy Simmonds. Now this was on my second 5-star prediction video, and I really loved Cassandra Dark. I read that I think in December/January and absolutely loved it. So it was by the same author and illustrator, and I really just love her style. So to give you an inkling of what it's like, there's quite a lot of text, and then kind of these colour theme that kind of goes throughout it as well. So I love the art style. I love that there's a lot of text in it. Usually I don't really like that in graphic novels, but I do really enjoy it in this. And I feel like with Cassandra Dark, and I've started this as well, it's got this similar sort of feel where it feels like you get a real in-depth look at the characters, and I feel like sometimes because graphic novels are often quite short, you don't necessarily get to spend as much time with the people that they're presenting, whereas with hers I feel like I just instantly kind of get insight into their world and who they are, and I think she does a really good job with that in this format. So I'm really excited to complete reading this. I did watch the film of this many years ago. When I bought this, I didn't even remember the film. I think it was someone on my BookTube channel at one point that mentioned it actually, and then I was suddenly like, oh yeah, I have seen that film, which I didn't particularly rate very highly. But I'm still excited to read this anyway, especially just because I love her writing style and her art style as well. So that's the one that I've chosen for that. The next prompt is Spongify, read a paperback book. So that's quite easy, you just have to pick a paperback book, and I have decided to select this one, which is Water Shall Refuse Them. So this is a book I picked up recently. It's a Welsh book. I'm going to Wales soon, so I want to take this with me. I think it's a good book that I can take with me. And I'm also quite intrigued by the story of this. So I think this is more of a kind of a plot-based book, so it's kind of grabbed me by its plot. So usually I'm more drawn towards books that I'm going to like for their writing style. So it tells the story of a family that are moving away to Wales, this rural area, and they're doing it because they're getting away and / kind of like dealing with the grief of this accidental drowning that's taken place. It's set in 1976 during a heatwave, so I quite like that idea. It's also got a quote on the front by Andrew Melville Hurley, who wrote The Lonely, and I absolutely love that book. So if it's got anything like that in terms of its style and story, if it feels anything like that, I will love this, because I love that book. So I'm looking forward to bringing this with me to Wales. I do quite like doing that whenever I go somewhere, reading a book that's kind of like linked to the place that I'm going, so that's why I ended up picking this up, and it's quite an easy choice considering all I had to do was pick a paperback book, so that's that one. So these are the 3 books that I'm reading for charms, and now we're moving on to Herbology. So the first prompt is to read listen, is to listen to an audiobook. Now I haven't selected which one I'm going to listen to yet, so that will just have to remain unknown. It'll be a surprise. I haven't decided. It'll probably be something non-fiction-y because I prefer to listen to non-fiction on audio, but I shall let you know because I might keep you updated as I go along. I don't know why I'm saying that, making promises for videos, considering I'm the most Considering I'm the most consistently inconsistent person ever with this booktube stuff. Anyway, moving on. Where am I? The next prompt is to read a book between 350 and 390 pages. Now this was really bloody annoying because I kept finding things that were... I found a book that was 349 pages long and I really wanted to read it and I was like, but it doesn't fit, so I didn't choose it. And a ton of books that went over the 390, a ton of books that are under the 390. I found it really difficult to find one that was like within that very specific number of pages, but I did, and it was this one, which is actually a proof copy. This is When the Dogs Don't Bark, a forensic scientist's search for the truth. So this is a non-fiction book. There's tons of these books coming out at the minute about forensic science. Tons of them. This just seems to be the new thing. So I'm quite interested in it because it's a subject that I considered studying at one point and may still potentially do that in my future. Who knows? Well, I'm studying psychology at the minute and I kind of consider going into forensic psychology, but that might not happen. I've got other ideas. Anyway, no one cares. What's this about? Yes, it's basically about this forensic scientist and I don't really know much more beyond that. There's a quote in the back: "Nothing can really prepare you for your first crime scene." So I think it's going to be interesting. I quite like the idea of reading about someone's story in relation to their career. I quite like understanding and knowing about what other people do for a living, especially whenever it's a career like this. Really, really interesting and intriguing to me. So I'm looking forward to getting to that. And it is, how many pages are you? You are 356 in this copy. 356, so it fits. The final prompt for Herbology is to read a book with flowers on the cover, and I have decided to go for Penelope Lively's Heatwave, especially given the fact that we have just been through a heatwave here in the UK and I almost died, which is why this fan is here, because it basically saved my life. Penelope Lively is an author that I think I'm going to really like. I've never read any of her books yet. I own several. And I haven't read any sort of classics or modern classics in a little while, so I really wanted to pick one of those for the readathon as well, which is why I selected this. I think this is a book that's basically going to look at the complicated relationships between people, and exploring that within a heat wave kind of adds a whole sort of layer to the experiences of the complex things that might be going on. I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen. I think that this is the kind of book that I'm going to really appreciate for the writing and the themes, but I shall let you know what I think about all of these books. So those are the books that I'm doing for the N.E.W.T readathon. Like I said, that's to be a magizoologist, which originally was not the plan. The plan was to be a healer. That involves many more books. So if I magically get through these in like 2 days, which I won't, then I might change and be a healer, or alternatively then I will dedicate the rest of the month to women in translation. But I shall let you know. Maybe. Anyway, I just wanted to share the books that I'm going to be reading for the readathon. It's a readathon that I really enjoyed in the Isles, so I'm really excited to do the N.E.W.T. I just think that it's such a fun sort of concept. A Harry Potter aside, I just think the whole structure of being able to kind of choose what you want to achieve and then having to read certain prompts in order to achieve said thing. Anyway, I'm making no sense. I'm going to shut up and go. You're all great. Bye.